Go figure. I buy a Google phone and my Chrome browser now has issues. That doesn't make sense. All right. So, of course, you have to find out what's making that tick. What is it? What are their concerns? Right. Now, if it's politics, nothing you can do. You're president. You're not going to step down. Right. Now, don't just say it's politics. Find out what it is. Now, you do have some counter investors. You have a block of investors. So if it is political, you might be able to make them lose money, make the hedgers lose money. Because I think there was a period of time where the hedgers were hedging and everybody outpaced them, the investors. It's like poetic justice kind of deal. I think Elon Musk was a hedger. Now they're hedging against him and his administration. I wouldn't say poetic justice, but kind of tit for tat. Right. So I don't, it could have some validity. It might not. What happens is when they start doing that, they're building up that machine to tank the market, and they make money on it. So if they're going to go against your money machine, your market, they'll hedge. So again, what came first? Right. The chicken or the egg, the hedge, or the will to tank the market? Now, there are some issues, but I don't see them unsurmountable. Again, you have to get out there with the developers. I mean, you have Larry and Sam and our arch enemy Elon. But you have to you have to look out there. Does anybody have any? Like, and they got connections and networks. Does anybody have anything they can release that you think will revolutionize the market? I myself believe my two cell phones are technologically advanced, and I'm encouraged. A lot less glitchy, a lot less glitches. Now the iPhone, again, I'm not a person that purchased iPhone certified stuff, so I can't rate the iPhone in the end. It's just, for me, it was kind of clunky. Right? It just wouldn't work. Again, that was me. Other people like it. Right. I mean, the thing is, if you had a regular phone, it'd be fine. But I for years, I've had the Note and the Ultra. So I have the Stylus, and again, my Google Pixel. I think it's nicer than the. I'm more partial to it. That's what I should say. I'm more partial to my Google Pixel. Now, I'll tell you one thing. My iPhone had a better sound when it came to phone calls. I don't know. Maybe it's a setting that I'm missing on my Androids, but the iPhone had a really nice, deeper sound to that, a more dynamic sound to phone calls. I thought maybe it was the carrier I was using, but I'm back with that carrier, and I don't think I'm getting that. But I have to check that out to make sure. Well, again, the market is psychology. The market is politics. So you have to work the network and see what you can release. You remember, I think in the first Trump administration, he had those trucks and things that he was always out there producing or showing something being produced, business. He's hawking business, or it's just maybe just an extravaganza of new items. So again, Elon and Larry and Sam have to make up, and they have to move the markets together and move the technology together. They can't be coming against one another because Elon's holding a grudge. He might be willing down their projects, so he has to get over it. I've been telling you that for a while. He has to get over certain things. Right. Really a bummer. I thought it was going to be sunny today. Right. No, I mean it showed sun yesterday, and it's just overcast as yesterday was. Maybe even more so. Right. So it doesn't look like it's the tariffs, but if it's a tariff, you got to figure out what's making that tick. Right. But if you were to release some new technology, again, somebody could be sitting on something and wondering when to release it, and maybe they need some help to release it, some backing. Right. So if you send your people out there to go look for new items, new technology or revamped technology, and they need $1 million to release it, it might be worth it to invest in it. And then once that gets released, maybe the stocks will pick up. Again, also the deep state, you got to stop the deep state because everybody's irked by that, and they might just kind of go more conservative in their life, right? And go to pull back from the market. This all works together. Again, people are definitely feeling good about destroying the administration. I mean, I fight it every day. They're projecting it at me. Thank you, Larry. Wow, I just can't believe it's so overcast. Not horrible, but it'd been nice to have a sunny day. Again, we're almost there anyway. Warmer days ahead. So again, if you get me someplace comfortable, I can do this much better. No, I've never had a comfortable life. They tell people all sorts of shit, like I was rich, or I am rich, and I'm just a miser. They tell people all sorts of shit. I'm slumming, living in these places, that kind of stuff. Well, if I spend more money, then my budget's going to be wrecked. I can't buy a battery for my phone, an extra battery. I can't. So again, I had to launch a podcast type of war against these people, so I can at least get the word out. I don't know how much the public sector gets of my stuff, but certain cops and certain investigators and spies that aren't part of the bullshit have received my stuff, and they've used it for something. The question is, as that evil of the deep state abounds listening to me right now, does grace abound that much more? Thank you, Larry. Thanks, Larry. So I'm really, again, I don't mean to bring up like Barr or anything like that when I speak about Pam Bondi, but she does need to get in there and advise everyone. You're just making a mess that she's going to have to clean up. Right. Larry. I mean, and again, you're wired to feel good about doing that. That's why I said Elon. He's psychologically operated. President Trump is psychologically, and you're feeling good about something that's going to cause trouble for you later. And I don't know how much later it's going to be. It may all be at once. They may just launch everything at once because they're holding back. They're definitely giving you enough rope to hang yourself. Definitely doing that. Thank you, Larry. And again, I respect those people because why? They're just doing their job. Right. It's illegal what you just did. It really is. I mean, it's the only way to not fire an FBI agent. Because every other way, they have very little recourse. Right? It's the way they constructed it. Again, the deep state wants to fire people when they want to fire them. Right? You ever heard you say too much? You've all said too much. They did their job. That's what they'll say. Right. I mean, I'm not telling you what to say. It's just obvious. I mean, when I was in the government, if if you tell me I get fired for doing my job, I mean, I'd be like, what? Right. Actually, it's a godsend. It's a gift. You have to remember, when Elon got rid of everybody, they launched 1 million court cases. Now, it takes a while for the court cases to settle, but it doesn't take as long as in the government. The Supreme Court will be very interested in it. The courts will be very interested in it. You got an assignment, they did it. The only thing that can be gleaned pretty much is its retaliation, and when you do the bulk, see, you can. It's like to the 50th power, or the millionth power. Actually, you can retaliate, but do it intelligently, and it's much more difficult to do anything. But when you fire everybody at once in a certain category, and you may want to send them, maybe you are retaliating. Maybe you are trying to send that message, but it just doesn't work. Well, because if the judge orders these people paid, and maybe even orders their job back, where are you going to be standing then? You created the reverse messaging. Right. And that's really, and I'm getting a blip here, that would be the intention of the court. To overrule your retaliation. Now, I don't know how it's going to end, but I don't think Pam Bondi would have did it that way. Makes no sense. So again, a lot of this is what? It's turmoil. The markets don't like turmoil. People in the markets don't like turmoil. Well, you ran on a certain thing, but you don't have to publicize it. Because like I told you before, it's not even lawful. You fired people because they were assigned a case to prosecute Donald Trump. That's illegal. 100% legal. There's nothing that's legal about it. And not only did you do that, you did it so openly and blatantly, there's probably no way to defend against it. Thank you, Larry. So again, you may have made the lives of those people. All right. Now you might walk off with a nice chunk of change. Now the question is whether the judge orders them to have their job back. They may get paid well enough that I'll walk off. I don't need to go back. I don't know how much they're going to pay them. Now, I could be wrong. I mean, you might have something, on the side that it's not going to go there. But there's nothing wrong with moving fast. That's very, very commendable. But you have to move correctly when you're moving fast. Again, the trade-off, right? Like the idea yesterday, I was speaking about the high level of traffic, and that thread the needle thing. It one of them has to give, right? So again, so you essentially get mad at the pilot, and who knows why the pilot was there? Maybe the NTSB could tell us why. Look at the gauges, make sure they were, if anything's left, and see if you can see if they were accurate. For all we know, he was looking at 200 feet. So the gauges could have been screwed up. Maybe he couldn't read his gauge. Could they see anything? Right? Were they just fudging it? We'll get through this. Because, some pilots probably just kind of fly by the gauges, and when they're on the other side, they can see again, Right. Right. And then you have to look at all the transmissions, and I guess you have those available, or the media does. Somebody has got those. And you got to look to see if they messed up the instruction and told the pilot to go that altitude. Because, they may have been saying something to the airplane was landing, so I don't know. But they may have been saying something to the airplane, and they meant to say it to the airplane, they said it to the helicopter. I don't know if that's there. I think somebody would have caught that already. Right. So you have to get so the NTSB has to get the NTSB has to get the gauges and test them for the altitude and all that. So you have to kind of recreate the dash. I don't know if it's in any condition to work or not. But for all we know, the gauges were off. And then again, could he see anything? Did he see accurate? Did he see? Again, he could be looking at 300 feet and think he's looking at 200 feet, and that could be from the night vision goggles. Right. I'm not sure what they see, as far as their console and all that, because I've never been there. Right. So again, it's Murphy's law. The more things that can go wrong will go wrong. Right. So it isn't just the pilot. And really, if they'd have thought of this like 10, 20 years ago, I guarantee you could have built what I was speaking about. Take like a city block, and you may be able to do it now. So the last time Trump was in there, I think we were talking about moving agencies out of D.C., which would make a lot of this a little bit easier. I don't know where you want to move them to. I don't know if you finished moving them, but essentially, you can get those properties, and you can create a few helipads in there, or I don't know what number you would need, and then some. So you could have essentially an inner city helipad with some, even billets and things like that. Right. You have to find the space. I guess to a certain degree, you could even, build a structure and have, it could be a military base, just a big building, build it hard sided, right? And then on the roof you have all the helicopters, but you'd have to build it a certain way to make sure it was, the structure was well. So that's another thing. Or you may even shore up a structure that's there already. I don't know. You have to look into it. But then your helicopters could actually be in DC and that unit. They don't have to be at Fort Belvoir. And in fact, to a certain degree, as long as it was manned to a certain level, you could have the pilots still work out of Fort Belvoir. They just simply commute or something like that. Right. And they have a duty schedule. But I don't know, what the plans are. They may need all the, all hands on deck type of thing for, when the poopy hits the fan. There's a lot of options for the future for that helicopter unit. You just need to look around for space. It might be you might want to just move it to Joint Base Andrews, and you might be able to shift units back and forth to make it, because the other unit may do something different, and they don't need to go that direction. Again, if you remove the exigent circumstance units, and again, I guess everybody around DC probably has a certain situation where they would be involved in something like that. Thanks, Larry. So I don't know if there's a quote unquote non-exigent circumstance unit, helicopter unit. Well, it's the exigent circumstance that requires them to travel the direct route. And I think that was the particular operation, was to test the exigent circumstances, like simulate exigent circumstances. Now, there is theoretically, what I said wasn't about that particular helicopter, and that happens, and I've explained how psychic works, or psychic inference. So somebody is joyriding. And again, to a certain degree, that mission didn't need to go then. You could have been 5 or 6 hours later. And then it probably would have been a lot less traffic. Definitely a lot less competing lights and things like that, headlights and all those other things that were moving around. Well, they were saying yesterday they didn't know if they had night vision goggles on. I'd be surprised if they didn't, because it just looks like they walked into the. Anybody that's had night vision goggles for any period, extended period of time, or maybe somebody put them on for the first time. That just happened. You walk into things sometimes, you don't see it. It's like whoop, ah. Right. So, it's what it looks like to me. Like, okay, they had night vision, and they might not have, but it looks like maybe they had night vision going on, and it happens. Again, I'm trying to explain it. We're in the military. I've said it before. Like, you're not safe because it's peacetime. We do a lot of dangerous stuff. And because we do that dangerous stuff, we have an obligation to the civilian population to make sure we make it as safe as possible for them. So I think there was some negligence in making that operation safe. I don't know what the answer is. Again, I don't have access. I can't call up Joint Base Andrews. I can't, look at what properties could be available to make helipads, protected helipads in Washington, D.C., where they wouldn't even have to go to Joint Base Andrews. Some of the plans probably call for flying that direction once you pick the protectee up, because that's kind of what they're insinuating. So I'm not sure. Again, you have to look at what you're doing and maybe make it a little safer. Again, I just remember a military where we obligated ourselves not to fly near populated areas whenever possible. That was almost all the time. Out the back 40, and then if you had to go somewhere besides the back 40, then you went there through the back 40. Again, we had people like Burton Patrick. He was an advisor, special forces advisor in Vietnam. That's as real as the deal gets, right? Right. That was funny because I didn't know that. Maybe I did read it before. I don't know, because I did bring him up before, but I had forgotten about it. But I didn't know anything like that about him. Just had this older guy, general, to start singing to us. Thank you. First time back. My wife. No, my wife wasn't there. My wife was there for Desert Storm, but I was alone. I guess I was alone. But I think some of the widows were already there. I think I can't remember. Actually, no, that was a later ceremony, right? But they treated us well, and again, I didn't even know what I was doing. I was like raiding up the military. I didn't know that because like after that, I remember because I know how I am now, and how Hashem has me, give something a kudos or something like that. So I remember going, okay, yeah, they like checking off the blocks, they instead of taking Arrow Air or even another airline, they bought the most modern C1 or C-140s, I guess it was. I think we flew in. Maybe was it a 131? I don't think it was a 131 in there. I think it was C-140s all the way. Right. Or we may have switched. I can't remember if the C-140 could land at that airport. I think it could. I just can't remember. But all I know is we had chaplains, we had psychologists. Like they really were really wanting to make sure everything was well. Again, that was under Reagan. And we flew back in great Air Force aircraft. Again, there's a world of difference between the quality of those aircraft and the aircraft that Arrow Air was running. So again, that's coming up right now, huh? So yeah, I looked up and I saw 757, and I thought I read that the 757 didn't fly anymore. So it's again the same thing with Trump when I saw that vision of his face bloody, but it didn't look like it was inside. It looked like it was outside. So the idea is you still might have something that's going to happen down the road. So you have to be careful, right? It's like an inside type of rally thing. But doesn't have to be a rally. He's a president, and he meets all sorts of people and speaks at all sorts of places, right? But I couldn't get to post it. I couldn't even post other things. My whole day was wrecked. So yesterday, I got it, relatively quick. It was a little over a half hour before I could post it. I think it was, or at least 25 minutes. But during that 25 minutes, I noticed that pattern. Every time I tried to do it, I couldn't get to it. At first, they're like, you don't tell them that, Satan. Right. But I was able to beat it this time. Again, that's how that stuff works generally. Again, works in our life too. We have an experience, and then I develop a response to that, negative experience, so it doesn't happen again. Right. But but that shows me also. I mean, if you believe it or not, I don't really care. But that shows me that before, when we healed it, it actually went away, right? Because it was real. That's not the first time I did that. Right? And then the 757s come up as refurbished and older and all that, so they probably need to be looked at. But again, it's called due diligence. It does have a metaphysical aspect to it, where you do your due diligence in those inspections, because again, I think that's what we're seeing. I think it's an older Learjet. I have to look. Right. I help the FAA every so often when I can connect. I actually could connect this time. Right. It may have been that woman doing the investigation. I guess she's running the agency or something. I may have connected with her while she was speaking. I may have gave her a kudos. Someone gave me a kudos. No, she's about business. Right. And she just said, like, everybody has theories. That's fine. But our theories aren't going to be out there until we finish the investigation, or at least get somewhere in it. And so, if they had the night vision goggles on, then anything, like he could have thought he was at 200 feet. Right? See, that's why we don't fly those situations if we don't have to. And again, there's other situations that would end in a mid-air collision or a crash if you couldn't see the gauge right. But again, I mean, I don't think, obviously, again, based upon recent helicopter crashes, right? Or not so recent, but recent enough. I don't think night vision goggle technology advanced so much that it's foolproof when it comes to helicopters, right? Okay, Larry. So again, if he saw 300, it was 200. It's the old optical illusions of the. I mean, because like if you wear glasses or even sunglasses, if they fog up, you kind of a little bit, you kind of see but don't see it. Even looking online, your eyes can get fatigued to the point where you actually might see a 3 as a 2 or 2 as a 3. I agree, sir. So what they're doing is they're based upon their spells and their wills and their psychological operation. They're blocking me from seeing some things I needed to do like 10 years ago. But now that it's 10 years later, they try to attack your mind with what you should have seen 10 years ago. Right? There's no way to fix it now. Right? I mean, they're just sicko devils. And they'll be continued to be destroyed. So they do all day. They're just sicko devils, man. Need to be in hell as soon as possible. Whoa. Thank you, Larry. Thank you, Larry. This is exactly as my day would go if I wasn't broadcasting. Just so you know what I talk about when I'm in my apartment. Trying to break into my thoughts. I'm trying to break through them and get to my thought. So we're looking at the markets, and it could just be a spycraft operation to crash the markets based upon Trump being in office. Although there might be something spooking the investors. Again, they say that China released some AI. I mean, it could be that they're paying that up too much. But the way to beat that is to release some technology. So, you want to go out there and see if you can find anybody you can back a little bit. They can release some technology rather fast that might pick up the market. They may just need a little bit of, they may be waiting on their funding. Maybe somebody could fund them. Right? So you have to poll the people that your networks. So yeah, I went to my Apple account. Kudos to Apple. It's down around $17. I might end up having to pay that. That's fine. Right. I mean, they got the apps refunded and everything. I actually did do upgraded delivery, right? So I think it was like $9 each. That's probably just about what that is, right? That's maybe what it is. I don't know. So kudos to Apple. So again, hopefully you can hear me, and you need to get hard-sided vehicles to the border. Again, MRAPs and like they're smaller armored vehicles, that have windshields and stuff like that. Not like a full-on mechanized armored personnel carrier. Right. You get them down there. Just I don't know what the extent of their use is, but that MRAP, again, I don't know if the MRAP drives all that well. There's an issue with that too, but as far as bouncing and all that, they'd have to look at that. But But MRAP has a nice area in the back for you can do operational meetings with, a squad or even a little bit larger than a squad, I think. Right. Actually, probably squads, because a full size squad. Because a lot of times when I say squad, I think about our peacetime squads. Sometimes our peacetime squads are smaller. Right. And again, if you come under fire, those type of vehicles can give you protection. Until you call the Apache in. So again, Apaches, they need flight time. Fly them like that, the certification flight time and all that. Fly them up and down the border for their flight time. Mere presence would repel somewhat. I mean, we just might be in a posturing battle right now. But again, they're buying RPGs. Who knows what else they're buying? Again, CIA needs to verify if they can. Because again, it was a podcast or something. Maybe that's where she got it from. I don't know. Thank you, Larry. Got to keep people safe, and we can keep them safe. I think Abbott could probably move hard-sided vehicles the fastest. But that doesn't mean that that we don't move it from other areas. Again, you may find that you don't really see the threat, but you still need to put them into the motor pools and have them available. I know there's units on Bliss and Cavazos or whatever it is that has that. No, it's really a hard thing to do when you've been in the military and it was called something else, right? Because these are our main combat arms. A lot of these are our main combat. So again, in my mind, I strategize, and part of my strategy is these military bases. So in my mind, it's like Fort Hood, Fort Bliss, Fort Campbell. I mean, I don't, I'm not into, whoever. I mean, if it buys a despot for some reason that it's named after, that's a big deal for some people. That's fine. And I'm not saying it to disrespect that. It's just in my strategy mind, if I get it, for whatever reason, like for deployments, I say where to deploy it from. Right. Obviously, in Texas, we have a lot of deployable vehicles, regular Army. But I'd like to see independent vehicles that are available in arsenals and storage locations sent down to Texas, New Mexico, and California, and be put into motor pools that are operational. So we have people, again, military people could refurb vehicles that aren't too far gone. If they're really kind of ed up a little bit, they have to go to I think it's a Red River Arsenal that's near Texarkana. And there's another arsenal, but I think it's way up north or something. I can't remember where it is, so it doesn't make sense. Right. And then what I would do is, if you think you're going to use them, bring drivers in and assign them to the vehicles. So the drivers are part of the team. Now, there might be a military policeman in your unit that's licensed on them, and that military policeman could then become military policeman / driver. I think there's a designator for that, isn't there? I'm not sure. I have to look, but I think there's a designator for that. Or maybe it's just licensing. I was licensed on a bus. I didn't know they were getting me ready for the Border Patrol. I guess the VOP uses buses too. I don't even remember why they did it. I'm like a combat engineer, and they get like 4 or 5 of us and licensed us on buses. I can't even remember why they did it. Yeah, I had a pretty impressive application for the federal government. Little did know they weren't worth it. Right? When you worth the time of day. Should have went over to Kuwait and removed mines for $110,000 a year. Right. I could actually even probably worked as a UN cop in Bosnia or something. Right. If I was awake, it probably would have made sense to me. Right. And the federal government does not respect military. Again, you'll find veterans, but they're deep state. Right. They actually are offended by it. Right. And I didn't boast about nothing. I just carried myself like an everyday Joe. Saw Hegseth and CQ Brown hooking up there to troubleshoot all the issues. So the Air Force probably wants to look at some things too. Everybody's got to look at it. Figure out if there's anything they can do to make their flight operations any safer. That way, you don't have to say, you don't say, well, do we have this situation, this thread the needle from hell thing like they did at Reagan National, because they might not even know they have it. Right. So they just survey, develop a survey, and everybody looks at everything they're doing. Again, it may just be simply adjusting a flight plan or the flight path. Thank you, Larry. And then we'll know everything. We've done everything to make the flights safe, make sure they're not around civilian populations unnecessarily. No joyrides because it's got all the funny lights, and you're driving down the middle of the city or whatever it is. Thank you, sir. It's so ugly out there. I can't believe. I thought it was going to be a sunny day. It actually showed a sunny day. Maybe in a psyop from the deep state. They'll do that. I swear they'll do that. Make you think it, because that really hit me real hard. Like my one package, it was supposed to be delivered on Monday or Tuesday, and I did upgraded shipping, and she ended up sending it shore post, which is it's going to take the longest it's going to take, because it has to. It's UPS where they drop it off at the post office. So it's like an extra day passed around. So I was contemplating, do I want to pay for this or not? And the woman said, if you upgrade to ground, because I had an option, it'll get there a day early. And I did that, and it updated the scheduling and said a day early. Somewhere in the middle of the night, I believe the deep state clowns did something, and now it's back to Wednesday. So I said, can I get again, it's a psychology thing. You paid for it, now it's coming the same day, but I'm going to get a refund. Right. It didn't do anything. I actually called them and said, what happens when I upgrade the shipping? She goes, it comes a day early. And I said, well, I have to think about that. It's a lot of money for just a day early. And she said, yeah. But she was great. She really worked it for me. And then I did it, and I actually went back and looked at the scheduling. Not right away. It said pending. And then like a little bit later, it said it'll be here on Tuesday. So part of their psychological torture is they shift it back to Wednesday. Again, it could be Satan's dance, but it probably isn't. You got to realize it's psychological torture after 30 years. Correct. Psychological torture after 3 years, really. Right. Oh, psycho, man. They're getting off on it. Oh, go have an orgy somewhere tonight. Probably had an orgy last night over it. Right. I don't know. Elon might need to change whatever drug he's using. Smoke some dope and get, marijuana, and that'll get you down. He's just up to it. He's got like some. I think he's using stimulants. Got to smoke some cannabis and relax there, Elon. That's what I said when they said, well, he didn't want him using drugs. I said, but you realize it may be worse if we take him off the drugs? I guess it is. Careful what you wish for. You smoke some cannabis, sit around, eat potato chips and ice cream, and play video games. Just get out of our hair while we try to do this work. So again, do not F off government employees while they're on these task forces, and you can't split hairs. You're speaking down government employees, telling everybody they're useless and lazy. Nah, they're not the 6%. It's more than 6% that are working. They're just not in the office. Right? To prove it to me, you would have to say that 94% of the government is at home for a certain period of time, and are not like, okay, let's say they're in the field for 60 hours. Don't tell me that, they're only in the office 10 hours and they were at home 3 hours or 20 hours or whatever it is. Because again, once you do your 40 hours in the field, you very little have to go to your office. There's no reason to do it. Again, you can be put on a task force and you're not at your office. It's usually another building. Certain task forces, not all of them. But like, I'll bring up the one I was speaking of. The Malvo Muhammad task force, we were in a separate building. In Gaithersburg. And again, I think that's another point where they decided to kill me harder, because I end up on these assignments and things, right? Like the congressional detentions, the congressional presentation. I built the congressional presentation for the detention center in Baltimore, because I was the computer guy. I was not computer guy, but I was a computer savvy. Right. No good deed goes unpunished. Yeah, before these muckety mucks came into the district and corrupted it. Right. A lot of them just barely rookies, man. But they were women and they had sex with somebody. Pretty much. But there were dudes too. Thank you, Larry. So you have to get to that market and figure it out and move it. Now we could heal it, but I'm not receiving that right now. I'm not receiving a blip to heal it. So I can't do it, because it actually could cause it to go in reverse for whatever reason. Right. Well, the tariffs may have reversed it. Not reversed it, but tariffs may have been added to it. Right. So again, well, the tariffs last time was a different market. I don't know how far we are with people. I have to look at it, I guess. Right. They will me not to see it. We're somewhere in relation to people declaring bankruptcies and having bad credit. I'm encouraged because I had a pretty bad month last month as far as having to order stuff in. I bought 2 new phones. And when I got to the end of it, there was a certain, and again, I had been returning things. I did everything I could to save as much money as I could out of it. Right? Because like I'd order something, they wouldn't deliver it. I'd order it from someone else, and then they deliver it because they couldn't because of the snow or whatever. And it just is horrible. Thank you, Larry. So when I got to the end of it and I started paying my bills for the month, I'm a little, I'm not where I wanted to be, but it doesn't look too bad. And I'm just about, I think there's a return in with Amazon that they haven't refunded because they have to, I think it was a phone and they have to look at it. I was going to trade the phone in. But what happened was I thought if I paid cash that I would get the savings up front, but no, they wanted all of it. So I'd have to wait 3 years to recoup. I mean, it was a great deal. It was like a $38 phone, and I forget what they were going to give me for it. I mean, it was something ungodly, like $900. Maybe that much, but it was a sizable one, and but it would take 3 years, and I'm not doing it. My key was I wanted unlocked phones, and that was it. I wanted to pay full amount. I thought if I paid the full amount, I'd get the reduction right away, but it didn't work. Right. So the Google was sitting there with a 500 discount from one of the carriers because they knew the Samsung was getting released and it was going to compete. Right. And I could have got another $100 for trading that in, but I'm like, nah, it's like $2 a month or something. I'd have traded that in because I would have made not much, like 40 or 50 bucks on it. But it's like a track phone. If I traded it in for a Samsung S25, but it was going to be over 3 years, they were going to give me like, I forget what it was, but it was a lot of money. And in some place, like if you don't keep your bill down and you buy like a bigger plan, you're actually paying for the phone even if they give it to you for free. Like Verizon plans, you're actually paying for the phone. Right. They don't give it to for free. Right. Because the plans are so expensive. But again, I'm not against, I had those plans for a while. I'm not against people paying that and that happening. I mean, maybe it works for some people. Right. Years ago, they were making fun of, I think, Paris Hilton because she paid $5,000 for something that cost everybody else like a few $100s. And I said, she has to spend that. Again, it's probably upside down now, but everybody had a responsibility in the economy. Based upon what you take in, you have to expend. See, I know the system. I haven't, the system should have taken care of me. Right. I actually spend more than I'm required to, so I should get payback. Right? So again, the system's broke. Right. 100%, Larry. So she actually has to spend that money, and then she gets something back. Right. Not much. Well, because she's enriching someone else. She's picking somebody else up, and then somebody picks her up, and that person's supposed to pick somebody up. See, right. That's how the system's supposed to work. Not just I get money to kill my neighbor. That's why you got to stop that deep state and be careful about what's happening to me and the other people because they're trying to kill us and they're getting enriched for it. So it's actually a reverse economy. Thank you, Larry. Well, I'm walking back and forth because I'm trying to lose weight. I really did pick out last night. So I do these laps. But again, when it's nice, I'm outside walking. It's not as bad as yesterday, but it's not where I need it to be. Even, I mean, for, just even minimal comfort, it's kind of uncomfortable. Right. again, I haven't received any real, massages past a couple weeks. And, it's kind of weird to get those massages because, again, your body doesn't adjust right away. So things are too loose, too tight, right? So hopefully over time I can get back into that rigmarole. I would hope you would pay me and I can get out of here and go somewhere more comfortable, right, and take care of business. I might, like I said, I might just travel down. Again, if you gave me a sizable amount of money, I would probably get another trailer, probably get some sort of truck or SUV, right? I don't know if I'd ever have an apartment again. Yeah. I'd probably go with extended stays. And then I could travel and heal the country and all that. Hopefully I would get well enough and feel comfortable enough to heal the country. But I'd go down to Texas for a season because it's warm right now, or warmer. Right. I don't think I'd go as far as Florida. Thank you, sir. Now I would go to Texas or southern Texas. I'd probably go near where I was last time. I really liked it there, but I was being really attacked very heavy. Again, everything said that they were drugging me and causing pain. And of course, they were psychologically operating me in the middle of it. Thank you, Larry. Thank you, Lynch. Well, if you find out who they are, maybe 2 prime people or 3 prime people, how many were involved, to investigate. Thank you, Lynch. You work for Amazon? They probably have Prime accounts, right? That's pretty common. Now I can't even see the Amazon. I can't. A lot of the recommendations that I normally give to corporations hasn't been flowing because you're killing me so hard, and I have no place to be. Right. I guess they all slid, right? Right. That's why. Stop killing me, and they won't slide. I could even tell you what to do. Right. They're canceling my ups physically by operating, and somebody pays them instead of me getting the money. That's what happened in my life. When the up was coming, they kill it. Thank you much. There are several things you can do to the market psychologically to get it back up. Again, I don't know who those people are. You have to figure out who they are. Again, don't harm them. Don't do that. That'll take us down. But if it's political shenanigans, then that you still have to fight it. But at least you know that it's not. You're not losing valid investors. Right. You have to find out if it's political, and it'll probably be a smattering of different things. Right. Oh, I think I just did the investigation. No, I don't know what it is. I would look at it. So if it's political shenanigans, you still have to counter it, but at least you know you didn't lose investors. It's just a game they're playing. Right. Again, I recommended before, just get the technology out there. I feel, again, this is another thing. Now that everybody has cell phones and technology's here, like you look at my 2 phones and you think, well, it's just a phone, but there's technology in those phones. And I'm not sure what they're saying about China. That could be a psyop in itself. Did they really meet certain benchmarks for AI? Right. Or is it just a psychological operation? Thank you. So this is what I do all day, even when I'm not broadcasting. Thanks so much. So again, always remember, generally, the market is psychology. If you fix the psychology, they'll write anything. They'll write anything out till hopefully. Again, if they write it out, there should be an up at the end of the ride out. But again, who knows what's happening at this point? Again, devils, demons, antichrist, witches, and sorcerers. Again, there's foreign investors too. Some of them could be foreign investors just mad at the United States and Trump. Right. We'll be able to get the other side of this thing and do it honorably. Again, the DEI thing was kind of making it almost dishonorable. And again, I looked at a couple of the victims, the kids. They had big rainbow socks on. I mean, her mother's probably a DC liberal. She got family and all that. Right. Thank you, Larry. But I think if you don't rush through the corrective actions, but if you start making your corrective actions, you'll be able to announce what your plan is at least, right? And say that you want to get to the point where we've already started this process, and we're going to make sure that these military operations in proximity to city centers and population centers and all these type of things are made safer if they can be made safer. So again, you don't have to do anything with that particular operation. You could say, well, I'm just going to put an air traffic control. You can even give them their own tower. Have them sit like right by the Potomac. Okay, there's the helicopter. Hey, you, 100 feet down. Well, I know he's too high because my tower is 200 feet. And he said, but yeah, you can make the tower 200. If they're above the tower, this would be easy, right? If they're above the tower, and then they're too high. So all the pilots know when you go by the tower, if you're taller than the tower, you're above 200 feet. Thank you, Larry. So yeah, just keep doing that stuff. Just keep fixing everything. So at least in their name, you've done something worthwhile. You turned a bad thing into something that's going to save lives. We also need to look at, the voice changed, so whatever we're doing is going to save lives, so keep going. So something was telling me that. So a spiritual thing. So oh darn, I lost this. Let me get back to where I was. We're changing all right, night vision goggles. We got to look at those as being a risk factor. Can you prove it? I don't know. I guess there's no real reason why that happened. I can't see that happening without night vision goggles. But again, maybe they didn't have them on. I don't. So there's something we can do. Again, techies are in with this administration. I think you can advance those night vision goggles quite possibly. Right. But I don't have the answer. You do. But again, that's the reason for moving operations when we don't need them in certain places. Because we know military operations is inherently dangerous, and part of that is the use of night vision goggles while flying helicopters. Now, you don't have the crashes beyond a certain point, but a lot of times if there is a crash and night vision goggles are involved, everybody just goes, Right. Right. So again, basically you're enhancing military safety protocols to make sure, again, you can't hide what happened there. There's a history of issues. So even if they're below 200 feet, there's still something going on. At least I believe they're 200 feet. He may not be the only pilot over 200 feet. That's another thing that needs to get looked at. And again, it could be night vision goggles and reading the gauges wrong. Right. I got to turn some of this. I got to turn my air purifier on. I'm just like thinking, what am I? I'm trying to get a scratchy throat. There's a lot of mold and dust mites going on right now. So you need to you need to poll your pilots and ask them, have you ever been at the wrong altitude because you read the altimeter wrong? I mean, did night vision cause you to see an optical illusion there? Again, I'm not a pilot, so I can't, and I have very little memory of the gauges in a helicopter. Again, when you're planning to rappel out or something like that, you're focused that way, right? Again, we rappel out with the engineers rappel out with all sorts of funky things in their pack, shape charges, ammonium nitrate, all prepared to dump into the shape charge hole. All right. So you're focused more in that direction than what the pilot's doing up front. We had a guy, I think I spoke about it before, he had a chainsaw in his backpack. Is Mark Bentley from Minnesota. He used to love chainsaws. We had the sharpest chainsaws in the Army, but that was it. That was his pastime. Like, people would go drink a beer, Mark would go find our chainsaws and sharpen them. So he got on the skid. It was a Huey. Hueys were fun to propel out of. Black Hawk, you just jump off, right? But on a Huey, you got to get on a skid and flip around. He went to flip around on the skid, and he just kept going. It was like fast rope. He just whoop. It was something else in his pack. It was a chainsaw and something. He just couldn't stabilize with it. Right? We were close enough to ground. He just, but that's where the Ranger went possum. He was an evaluator. The evaluator went possum coming out. That's the guy that tried sneaking up on us, and I was out there with my night vision goggle or night vision scope on my AR or my M16. Right? He was pretty impressed. Oh, there you are, Mr. Ranger. Your history act would have killed you. and then he rappelled out in the morning with us. So I'm up at, I drink Coca Mocha in the middle of the night on RTEPs and stuff. It's hot chocolate and coffee with a hefty amount of sugar, right? So I'm wide awake. So I sleep for, I don't even know, a couple hours. And then we're up in a helicopter, dark 30. And he came out behind us and he went upside down. Because it's a Huey, it can be rather difficult. I could tell you the truth, if it wasn't for me, no, he would have got us. I was the only guy, slurking and murking around. Everybody else could crashed, I mean, a lot of people look good in the military and in the government. Right. Thank you, Larry. So you figure anything out in Philadelphia's crash? So yeah, President Trump needs to chill out, especially if we don't know what's going on for sure, right? I mean, I don't know if this could be a result of a spy activity. That both of the crashes. So you have to be careful on the White House reaction, right? Because if it is spy induced, again, you say, well, well, there may have been 30, 40, 50 different pilots, maybe even more than that are being manipulated. And then, can they hack into our systems? Right. Thank you, Larry. Thank you, Larry. So again, you have to help Trump, but you have to speak to him a certain way so he gets interested. Right. Again, you need to chill out with all those MAGA terms. Right? There's ways to explain yourself and explain what you're doing intelligently, or using plain English, but intelligently articulate what meritocracy is. You say meritocracy in DEI, they're thinking, okay, so if I'm not a woman, I'm worthy. If I'm not a gay person, I'm worthy. If I'm not a person of color, I'm worthy. Is that what you're telling me? Well, what I'll say, well, you see, President Trump doesn't really believe that. He's got gay people, he's got black people, well, enough of that, Just explain it the way it's supposed to be. Explain it to corrupt appointments. And I would tell them even people of color and women are disenfranchised with that because they're not picking the best person, not picking the best black person necessarily. Right? They're just picking the person, the crony. Might be afraid of that. I don't know how much cronyism you got going on. So again, you got to push Pam Bondi in there. She needs to keep everything as clean as she can. And again, maybe you don't because you get visions of Barr where Barr was doing something different, right? But I don't think she's going to do what you tell her, but she's going to protest if you're going to do the wrong thing. I mean, she's got to try to protect you, right? No, it does matter because you got so many other things that you need to take care of, and it takes power away from it. Like the agents in the street need power, so everybody give them a thumbs up, and that repowers them. But if you're hating on them, I don't know if you can up them, or you may not even want to. Maybe a game. I mean, you down people and then expect them to perform. Thank you, Larry. Thank you much. Well, because then we'll get there'll be like a riot or something, and then there's not much we can do. We can't shoot them, right? Just have to clear out of the area, and then that messes it up. Right? It's happened before. Thank you, sir. Trying to see if I need to order new batteries. I mean, these aren't the super power batteries like we have nowadays. These aren't like 45, 65 watt batteries, but if I have batteries that can keep it charged through the broadcast, then that should be good enough. I think the one's 18 and the other one's 22. No, I definitely made out. I mean, the little iPad mini was neat and nice, but I definitely made out by getting these two phones. I like certain things about the Google Pixel that you're not going to get on the Samsung S25. But again, I'd hate to be without a stylus, and I had ordered the stylus for the iPad mini, so they took that on return also. Again, I just feel, really blessed by iPad's return. Not only, their policy is kind of weird, but the actuality of it is it's perfect. Right? I mean, couldn't ask for more. So they're going to get an up from that. I could probably even get rid of the 17 bucks. If I called them, I guarantee they'd take the 17 bucks away. But I'd seem like a cheapo, At least I could pay like 17 bucks after they took all that in return. Right. Thank you, Larry. I'm just giving it another couple days just in case something needs to catch up that is maybe, already taken. But I think I have to pay that. Thank you, friend. The only thing about the newer batteries, they charge like at 45 or 65, and it's a lot quicker. And the Apple people were so, I know they're probably liberals, but I mean, they were so nice. And that's part of it now. I guess you have to be nice. I speak to so many people from India in a day, though. They weren't from India, I don't think. The woman from my carrier was nice. I think she was from India. Very, very focused and right. Wish I could marry one of them, but they messed that up, didn't they? Right. Thank you. So again, I think President Trump's been psychologically tortured. That's the bottom line. We realize something happened, but he's been psychologically tortured, and that's the point. You let them psychologically torture me, and some of your people psychologically tortured me. So again, Hashem show that you're the one too. Right. Nice, Larry. It's biblical. But I believed he was psychically tortured before that, but it wasn't beyond a certain point. So you actually have to fix Trump so he can think through things better. Because he's in that mode, right? I'm going to get these people that torture me, right? And I know he's not going after everybody. I know he's already moved in other ways, right? But again, we have to get it right, enough to make everything right. And he's not. He's so focused on all the MAGA dogma, he can't communicate with the everyday person, which is where your votes came in. He was able to communicate and make deals with everyday people, right? And that's where the extra votes showed up. Yeah, they're spelling me right now. They want me to go foo foo. Yeah, it's part of my investigation. Thank you. Because I'm killing whenever they're projecting. So it should take their power down. It sucks. I have to deal with it, but I'll just kill it. Whoa. Nah, these people are devils. No doubt.